Hi, friends. Hope you guys are doing great and have had the best week in your first week of Faster Way to Fat Loss. You did it. You did this thing for a whole week, and I couldn't be more proud of you. And um, I know that Bethany feels the same way, so we are just pumped that you are hopefully sleeping better. Hopefully, your energy levels have been boosted, and you may not be feeling like your body composition is changing yet, but just give it time. And remember that normally it's 6 to 8 weeks before you start noticing body composition changes, and typically about 12 weeks of living the faster way before others start noticing or saying, "Hey, what have you been doing?" Some of you may see your skin clearing up, things that maybe are wins for you that you didn't even think going into this would be a win. So I hope that you are starting to feel those things as we continue to journey together. So welcome to week 2. And this week is our first kind of full week living the faster way. And we are going to be focusing on a couple things this week. First of all, we're going to be focusing on tracking our macros, which you have begun to do using the MyFitnessPal app. We're going to learn about today in this training just why we track macros, what even is a macronutrient. We're going to talk a little bit about carb cycling, which we will begin to really jump into this week. And then also talk about the power of pairing our workouts with our food log. So why we do that. I always, before I started Faster Way, I was like, I knew there was some science behind how to work out when and what to do when I was eating a certain way or what not to do. And the Faster Way has told me what that is, what that science is. So we strategically are pairing our nutrition and how we are eating with the exercise that we are doing if you're choosing to do the exercise component. And that is one of the things that sets Faster Way apart from other programs out there. I think they're just so strategic in how they pair everything together. So we hope that you are continuing to learn about what that is. So we're going to start out what are macronutrients? Why do we need to know anything about them? So macronutrients are the building blocks of your cells. So we need carbohydrates, proteins, and fats in order for our body to function optimally. And each one of those is very important. And so we're never in the Faster Way going to eliminate a total macro. We have seen trends over the years that have done those things, and American diet culture has over time told us that that is what we should be doing, when in essence science and our bodies are not telling us that. So in the past, low fat was like a way to live. And so you were trying to cut out as much fat as you could, and fat was bad. And right now, currently there's this big push on a low carb lifestyle. You have seen there's this history of these diets, the Atkins diet, the keto diet is really big right now. Some of you may have tried the keto lifestyle, but eliminating a complete macronutrient, we believe in the Faster Way, is really not a healthy way to live. And especially for us as women that need these building blocks of ourselves, especially with our hormone levels and all of that, completely eliminating one of those macronutrients is not something we want to do in the Faster Way. And I think one thing that we all will probably find, and you've probably found this week, that protein is so key for us, because we can do all these workouts every week, but if we are not eating enough grams of protein, we are not going to gain muscle. as women, this long, lean muscle that we really want. We're not going to gain it if all we're eating are carbohydrates and fats. We need those proteins. And so many of us are not getting the protein that we need. So that is a huge focus for us in the faster way. Carbohydrates. So, yes, I think when we think of carbs in the past, we've thought of bread and pasta and French fries and all of those things. That donuts, that we do love those things, those carbs, but the carbs we really want to be eating in the faster way are our sweet potatoes, our oats, our quinoa, fruit, bananas, apples, all of those things. If a nutritionist or a doctor is telling you like eliminate carbs from your diet, like that is a nutritionist saying you actually need to stop eating fruit because every fruit has carbs in it. So we need the micronutrients that come from those fruits for us to be able to live this successful, healthy life. And so we need to consume those carbs and at times consume those unhealthy ones. Like tonight I actually had bread at dinner and I haven't done that in a really long time. But if occasionally I have a cheeseburger, that's okay. But we need to consume those carbs coming from whole foods, but not overconsume. We can have an apple or a banana, but we don't need to be eating so much fruit all day that, all we're getting are a lot of carbs and a lot of sugar. So one other thing that is a key component to the faster way lifestyle, we call it carb cycling. So it is just an intentional variation of our carbohydrate intake. So we're going to have a low carb macro day in our weeks, and we're going to have regular carb macro days. At later points in this faster way journey, kind of towards the end, as we're looking towards VIP and what's next, we will look at some different macro day options as well, like a low macro day or a feast day where we maybe eat a little bit more than our macros say in our food cycle. So as we carb cycle, it's just the variation of how much carb intake we're having. So we're not completely ever cutting out a macronutrient. We're just varying how much of that macronutrient we're actually eating. So one of the things that I've learned so much about in the faster way is a key component of our program is learning about how the fat loss cycle actually works. So one of the things that we want to be aware of is the effect that glycogen has on our fat loss cycle. So insulin is a very important part for us to pay attention to when we are trying to burn fat. So the carbs that we take in will affect our insulin levels. Obviously, like this, if you've ever been around a diabetic or somebody that really needs to keep track of those kinds of things. So the amount of carbs we take in affect how much insulin is in our bodies. And when we consume carbohydrates, your body turns those carbohydrates into glucose. And that is in our muscles is known as glycogen. So that glycogen is stored in our muscles. And when you move your body today during your workout, you're burning off that glycogen. So that's what's stored inside of your muscles. So a lot of us have been just burning off glycogen for fuel in our muscles for decades. That's all we've ever been burning off is the carbs that we've taken in and what is left in our muscles in that glycogen, which is in essence sugar. So we are not dipping into our fat stores because there's glycogen in our muscles to use. So that's by storing all these carbs that the American diet has given us. So what we're going to do on low carb day is we want you to deplete your glycogen stores in your muscles so that your body will start burning fat for fuel instead of glycogen. So the glycogen will already have been burned off, And the only thing left to burn is fat. And obviously, that's what we all want, right? So on these days, we're going to intermittent fast. We're going to consume less than 50 net carbs. We're going to talk about what that means. And then we're going to pair that with a 30-minute effective workout. And the days we're going to do this are Monday and Tuesday of our week. And so that way we can burn the triglycerides, which is the fat, as fuel. Instead of, we'll have depleted all that glycogen, the only thing left to burn off are the triglycerides, and that fat will begin to melt off of our bodies, which is amazing. And that's what we all want, right? So we want to go from burning off glycogen and being a pro-sugar burner to burning off the triglycerides and becoming a pro-fat burner. And how we accomplish that is by carb cycling. So Monday and Tuesday are going to be our lower carb days. We want you to take in 50 grams of net carbs. So what is a net carb? What does that mean? So whenever you hear the word net carbs, that means that it is the carbs minus the amount of fiber that we're taking in. So if you have eaten 100 carbs for the day, but you've eaten 50 grams of fiber, which that would be like a lot of fiber, then you would only be at 50 net carbs for the day. So that's where you want to stay. And as you consume whole foods, those foods are just going to be higher in fiber. And you're going to consume less net carbs, if that makes sense, because of all the fiber that you're taking in. So when you, and in MyFitnessPal, it will show you, your carbs, but then you see what your what your fiber is, and then you can realize, oh, I maybe had 75 carbs today, but I had 15 carbs or 15 grams of fiber, and so it kind of like balances out. So you'll have to do a little bit of math on these days. And on Monday and Tuesday, we want your carbs to be at 50 net grams, and we want your fats to be double, and we want your protein to stay the same. So that's kind of what our Mondays and Tuesdays are going to begin to look like. So focus on high carbs Monday and Tuesday. That's when we want you to stay away from a whole banana or your sweet potatoes, and you're gonna get to have that later in the week. That's what I love about Faster Way. I never feel deprived because I get to have my higher fat foods that I love, my avocado, my bacon, my sausage, my eggs. I get to have all those foods on Monday and Tuesday. I try to stay away from my gluten-free bread or my a lot of my fruit. Berries are great. They're low in carbs. So they're a great thing for you to have on those low carb days. And really focus on those green veggies because they are super high in fiber. So they're going to allow you to have more carbs because your net carb will be a little bit lower on those low carb days. And then so we're going to pair our workouts with the food cycle. And this is the cool science behind it all. So we're going to intermittent fast, low carb macro days, Monday and Tuesday. And on those days, we do a high intensity interval training or like a sprint. We get our heart rate up. And as our heart rate goes up, that's the place that we can burn the fat. There's no glycogen in the muscle, so we start burning off all the fat. And then on regular macro day, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we add back in those carbohydrates. We do that on the strength training days because those carbs are what give us energy to be able to complete these harder strength training workouts. Many of you will think this is way more carbs than I've eaten in a long time. But you need the energy from that those carbohydrates give you to be able to do the lifting. And it's so funny, like some of you have been like, I never thought that I would need more carbs to burn off, but and to add in, but you're going to need it. So it allows you to lift heavy, and that tears through your muscles down. And so the muscles can rebuild itself, replenish those glycogen stores, and then that will allow us to build that lean calorie building muscle that we all want. So as you look in your MyFitnessPal under the nutrients tab, you will see carbs, proteins, fats, and fiber. Do that little math that you're going to need to do, and that will help you understand double your fats on your low carb day, 50 net carbs, and then you want your protein to stay the same. So your protein's always going to be the same. And these are not beginner strategies. Like, there's a lot to all of this, but these are the things that are going to be the most effective strategies that are out there in the fitness, wellness world. And by the end of this week, you are going to be carb cycling and learning how to do this, and you're going to be amazing at it. And I mean, I've been doing it about almost 2 years. I think Bethany's kind of close to that as well, probably a little bit longer than me. But it just becomes a lifestyle. Just Monday, Tuesday look like this. The rest of the week looks like this. But it's so great because I feel like you never are missing out on a food because you either get it on Monday and Tuesday or you get it the rest of the week. So that's what's given me the food freedom. So carb cycling, we're going to do it this week. Macros, carbs, proteins, fats. And if you have any questions, please reach out to Bethany or I, and we can't wait to rock this week with you together. All right, we'll see you soon. Bye.